And we're back. So everybody, just adjusting my mic and putting it into always open, or at the very least most of the times open, so I don't have to press any little buttons for it. But hello everybody, I am Briefcase here once again, bringing you another Eat, Sleep, Play in-house game. This time the North Americans are facing off between each other, and hopefully it'll be a little bit more action-packed than the last one. I only caught the tail end of it, but supposedly it was a lovely, gigantic, very long farm fest. You thought I was going to say penis, but I said farm fest. So first off, no actual teams this time around, simply a Dire versus a Radiant game, and interested to see exactly how that will play out. First bans are up, obviously, and who exactly is the Dire gonna ban out? We have to Penguin Chris EMCD as the tryout on the Dire side. However, on the Radiant side, we actually have two tryouts, both Turbo and Alpha, newcomers to ESP. Interested to see exactly how they will be going, and maybe we can be really mean about them, but we'll see. We'll see exactly how that goes. The Dire team now has banned out OD as their first ban. Of course, OD so terrifying to lane against for pretty much anybody that's an intelligence hero, and really has been run very strongly as an incredibly scary mid, and he just puts to shame pretty much some of the most popular mid and strongest mid heroes out there. Puts to shame Queen of Pain, just ruins Puck's days pretty much all day. Invoker can have an alright time against him, seeing as how he gets quite a bit of damage from his exhort rather than his pure intelligence gain. Can actually do a lot of problems for Pugna as well, where his intelligence gain actually won't gain him too much out of it. But interesting to see, nonetheless. On the Radiant team, they have banned out Darkseer now, as well as Batrider, two very strong heroes that pretty much are good throughout the entire game. Neither of these heroes fall off, particularly except in the extreme kind of 50-minute plus late game. And even then, they can still be a huge help to their team, with Darkseer's Wall of Replica winning team fights, not to mention Batrider's ability to essentially solo somebody out from every single team fight, making it roughly 4-on-5 for the most part. Every single one. The Dire team now has banned out Elder Titan as well. Interestingly enough, I've not seen ET used very effectively in most games that I've seen him play. He seems like almost a poor man's initiator, like a poor man's Clockwork in a lot of ways. But still banned out nonetheless. Maybe they know that this Radiant team can use that hero very effectively. But they have now picked up a Naga Siren as their first turn pick, which of course is one of the strongest ones, and I will repeat myself over and over again, it keeps your opponents guessing. Naga Siren, of course, a very strong support, but can be a carry if they need her to be, and even then, as a support, she is one of the strongest at the moment, being a very resilient support, much like Abaddon, in that she will not fall very easily to gankers or solo killers like Nyx Assassin, for instance. Excuse me. Radiant team now has picked up Nyx Assassin as well as Visage. I believe we saw these two heroes last game as well, and both of these heroes, of course, so good at supporting, at being in an aggressive try, at overall just having a lot of map presence with those familiars scouting, and with Nyx Assassin using Vendetta and really being imposing all the while. Both of those heroes are very good at setting up ganks as well if they get the upper hand. Now Weaver being picked up by the Dire team, of course, a very slippery hero, very difficult to kill, especially if you do not have a lot of stuns available to you. Nyx Assassin and Visage do provide quite a lot of that already, meaning that if this Radiant team decides to get even more disables, Weaver might have a very difficult game on his hands. Now, the Dire team now has banned out Puck, not wanting to deal with any very scary mids, of course. A lot of mids still an option for both teams here. The Dire team has banned out, I should say the Radiant team has banned out Timbersaw as well. Run usually as a mid, but of course can be run as an off lane as well. With that reactive armor, can be so resilient to constant harass and being zoned out, and overall does not actually dislike that too much. The Dire team now banning out Gyrocopter, just trying to limit, it seems like, excuse me, just trying to limit the possibilities of the Radiant teams as far as carries go. So interesting to see exactly who they will pick up right now. The Radiant team has banned out Rubik as well, and with such good abilities to steal, of course, Impale and Vendetta, not to mention Visage's abilities so strong. Rubik with Soul Assumption can be absolutely terrifying. Not wanting to go up against that one bit. Obviously, the Radiant team might be trying to prepare themselves up to have some sort of very strong synergy and combo between their heroes, and just trying to get rid of Rubik so he does not have those very strong abilities to steal. So interested to see exactly who they will pick up. They do pick up a Clockwork, of course, providing themselves with even more initiation potential. And so far, they are a very good lineup at ganking people. You get Clockwork, Weaver's invisibility Sakuchi means absolutely nothing if you have him trapped inside with you with those cogs. And you can really set up those cogs quite easily if you get that hookshot, of course, off to a good start. So interested to see exactly now who the Dire team are going to pick up. With Naga Siren and Weaver at their disposal, they are going to be quite difficult to kill with Naga Siren's essential reset button on that Siren song. So a lot of possibilities still available. Of course, Weaver run normally as an off lane, transitioning into a carry essentially. But I mean, the Dire team still lacking maybe one support, maybe a full carry, still lacking guaranteed though a mid. And one thing I've been seeing in a lot of North American games, but WizBiz is not here today, is you see him run a Troll Warlord mid, and he has such a good time there against almost every hero I've seen him go up against. Of course, Clockwork can be run as a mid if they need be, constantly throwing out rockets to the side lanes just to help harass each lane down a little bit. So that is a possibility as well. Mirana now, though, has been picked up by the Dire team. Of course, a very good offlaner as well. So now, with Weaver and Mirana, interested to see exactly who is going to offlane. Of course, Mirana in a pinch, not the best mid, but can definitely help in that regard, throwing out constant arrows and being a massive nuisance. Can be part of a very scary, aggressive try as well. You combo her with a Bane, and it's almost a guaranteed max range arrow, and that can just be so terrifying at level 1 at that. Morphling now being picked up, though, by the Radiant team, and there is your hard and fast carry. I have heard tales of a support morph who just after about the 6-minute mark, he goes full strength. He's impossible to take down unless you have a very dedicated physical damage dealer. But until about the 20-minute mark, he is just an impossible hero to kill. And even if he does decide to go agility and is a carry morph, as I do expect him to do, he is still so difficult to actually kill without any amount of burst, and right now they kind of lack that when it comes right down to it. Lina, though, was just picked up in response to that morphling, and I think a very good counter pick in that way. Having to deal with morphling constantly going into strength while getting chased is so difficult to actually take him out unless you have an immense amount of burst. And of course, Laguna Blade from Lina will provide that for his team, making Morph not so strong in these lineups. The Radiant team now banning out Beastmaster, not wanting to give this Dire team any amount of initiation. Mirana's arrow can be a way to initiate, of course, and smokes as well. Not to mention Naga Siren's Song of the Siren can be the perfect initiation, but so far they don't have any sort of gigantic AoE spells to really capitalize on that form of initiation. So more likely than not, Naga Siren will be using that more defensively than offensively. The Dire team now has banned out Dragon Knight as well, not wanting to give this Radiant team even more possibility of not only a carry, but a fairly carry-ish mid as well. Morphling mid I haven't really heard too much of. Clockwork, of course, is still a possibility, but more likely than not, Clockwork will be going in the off lane, throwing out those rockets to get last hits, with Nyx, Assassin, and Visage going in some form of aggressive try. So maybe they're looking for somebody to accompany them on that aggressive try lane. Get somebody with maybe a stun, of course. Dragon Knight would fit that role quite nicely. Or perhaps they're just going to give it to Clockwork with Nyx, Assassin, and Visage as well. And they're going to look for a hard and fast mid hero when it comes right down to it. Something like a Queen of Pain, of course, with the rune control would be very nice here as well, seeing as how OD is out of the pool. So though running out of time, up to 50 seconds left. It's still plenty to make a decision, however, and they are looking like a fairly resilient lineup when it comes right down to it. Nyx, Assassin, and Visage, of course, both with their defensive abilities. Clockwork can get out of places quite easily, not to mention interrupts pretty much every sort of chase possible with those cogs, and morphling with waveform and constantly morphing to strength is going to be so difficult for this Dire team to take out, having not really enough burst in simply Mirana's Starfall, but Lina with that Laguna Blade I think will be the saving grace. But now they have opted to get a lone druid. I have seen him run mid, seen him run off lane, seen him run safe lane solo as well. So just so many possibilities for this hero. Could even jungle if they really want to, and they leave Nyx, Assassin, and Visage in a lane together. So overall, a very versatile hero. Takes a little bit of the onus of carrying off of Morphling, and really makes it quite a lot longer of a game when it comes right down to it. As Lone Druid, the longer that game goes on for, the stronger, he's going to get so obscenely strong, with the possibility of getting 12 slotted, of course. So overall, they do pick up a Shadow Fiend. There's your very strong mid, and not only that, he is a very snowballish type hero and can do a lot of work mid-game. And I think that's where this Dire team, or this Radiant team, fall off a little bit. Visage, of course, very good in the mid-game. Nyx, Assassin as well. Clockwork can be essential for setting up those ganks, but both Morphling and Lone Druid are some of the latest game carries in this game. So if they can hold out till at least the 30-minute mark, I think that they will have a very strong chance of actually getting this game in their favor. But now, on to introductions. Let's see who is who. We have Ted Penguin playing as Lina. Chris is going to be going mid as Shadow Fiend. Valiant as the Naga Siren. EMCD as Weaver. And we have Lefty Heart Alessandra as Mirana. On the Radiant team, however, we have Tryout Alpha going as the offlane. Clock that has picked up a Stout Shield. That's going to be very helpful. Sky is the limit as the Lone Druid. Morphling Easy. Turbo playing as the Nyx Assassin with Hebe backing him up as well. And it does indeed look like this Lone Druid is going mid, and is going to be trying his hand at going mid as a Lone Druid, and hopefully that shouldn't be too bad. And actually, Shadow Fiend might have a very difficult time against this. If he gets denied, and if he gets all of his creeps denied, not to mention can't deny any because of this double damage from the bear, essentially, having 70-ish, about 80 last hit damage when it comes right down to it. That can be so difficult for Shadow Fiend to actually start steamrolling. But we have this aggressive and defensive try down here. Of course, this Radiant tri lane, much more defensive than this aggressive Dire tri lane. Of course, in an aggressive try, you're really trying to pick up kills. You're really trying to stop the other lane from farming, whereas in a defensive try, you're really trying to make sure that your carry gets his farm. And that can just be so scary. But with Ensnare and Light Strike Array, with some Sacred Arrows thrown out, that is going to be so terrifying. As far as this mid goes, though, let's see whose block is a little bit better. It is indeed Chris's, actually much better. However, so good, in fact, that this Lone Druid might just opt to actually go up here and just contest it in that way. But it looks like Chris has already gotten his one soul off, and that's good for him at the very least. Is this Syllabear able to get these denies? Not quite yet. is stopping Chris from getting those last hits, however, fairly effectively. And as far as this lane is concerned, a Clockwork versus a Weaver. That's most likely in favor for the Weaver. Of course, that Stout Shield is going to be doing so much work, but if this Weaver does get caught out, it could be a problem. Looks like Turbo was ensnared into Light Strike Array. It wasn't enough, though. Sacred Arrow was not enough. Is Alessandra going to get it? Lefty can't quite get it. Turbo just out of sight from him. Lefty does not have any sort of jump available yet. Just harassing him down. Hebe wants to get that second Soul Assumption off. Can't quite do it, however, and now both heroes are going to heal up at least a little bit. It looks like Turbo might be going all the way home, just guaranteeing that he does not get ganked by any sort of ensnare, light strike, arrow nonsense again. But with that, the first blood goes for, it did indeed go to Visage, so he's going to be having a pretty good lane, and that is not what you want to have happen as this aggressive tri lane. You really want to force those fights and try and get those kills, and to let it go up to the defensive tri lane, that is just not a good place to be in already. So things already swinging in favor of the Radiant team. However, oh, the bear is chasing after him just out of range. Can't quite get the last hit, however, on that courier. Excuse me, a little bit of salad in my throat. Chris is doing fine. He's actually winning the mid so far with 6 last hits and 4 denies. Only 2 more. He's not winning by much, but he is winning. Weaver, however, with 9 last hits. This Clockwork cannot contend up here at all. He does have 7 at the moment, so he's doing fine. Not getting too many denies, however, but he is holding his own against this Weaver. And surprisingly, actually has so much health left over because he had all that extra regen that EMCD is actually below him in the regen category and might have a very hard time in that regard. Hebe now has gotten stunned, ensnared, Light Strike to Rage, Sacred Arrow, and looks like Hebe will fall. Does indeed in the last second. They aren't going to be able to get this chicken now, and Easy trying to get his hill onto Penguin. He does indeed get it. A stun on only Valiant. That's not going to be enough to take him out unless he turns around and Riptides into that Spike Carapace, but of course he does not. And now Lone Druid is not quite, sky's the limit I should say, is not quite level 5 yet, and as soon as he does hit level 5, this is going to become so terrifying to be Shadow Fiend. EMCD now has picked up a ring of Basilius, all of his own, but Alpha still with 1 more Tango. EMCD, though, with a Tango of his own, and now slightly in favor of EMCD. He can regen this back up. Alpha, of course, can harass with these Rocket Flares, but opting not to get Max Rocket Flare. Going for that Battery Assault. Not sure how I feel about this. Of course, seeing as how he can almost never see Weaver, but that's not the end of the world. Pardon my little speech bubbles, everybody. I just had dinner. Looks like there is an Orb of Venom up on this bear, being so frustrating to lane against. However, Chris does have his bottle up, and as long as there's some form of bottle rune control, it looks like they will be fine. Looks like Easy throwing out some waveforms, just trying to harass people down a bit. Does get a stun on 2 of them. Lefty, though, looks like he's going to be the target. Turbo is all over him. Does get a nice Spike Carapace against a Penguin, and that Soul Assumption is just not quite enough to actually take him out. Possibly if the Grave Chill was used on that Lina, things might have gone slightly differently and gotten themselves at least 1 more kill. But of course, this defensive tri-lane is so good at just maintaining in lane. Strength morphing on the morph. Gravekeeper's Cloak, of course, on Visage if he did get it. But Spike Carapace, of course, so good at letting this lane dive in and try and get those kills. And now Chris has gotten up to 20 souls. That's exactly what he wants at the moment. He really needs to try and get these souls before this bear can start really harassing him with that very scary level 5 entangle. And now it looks like Sky is trying to push his luck, trying to get as many hits on to Chris as possible. He does get the entangle. Can Chris get this? 2 nice raises and just 1 little tiny fireball from this range creep is enough to take out that Lone Druid. And Chris has to be loving that. Has now picked up Power Treads as well. Are there any runes available? Not at the moment. So he is still going to be perilously low at the bottom, and now it looks like an engagement going on to EMCD. He does not have enough for Sakuchi anymore, being a bit too ballsy there, it seems. Alpha realizing that maybe realizing that maybe this Weaver isn't paying too close attention to his mana reserves and really exploiting that, and that is not what you want to have happen. I do not think Clockwork should be winning that lane. He's still very good against Weaver, of course, can harass down with Rocket Flare and make sure that he doesn't get to flask up pretty much any time, but still very, very slippery of a hero, and usually shouldn't be dying solo like that, especially. Let's try down here which one of them is farming more effectively. It is indeed the Morphling. He's up to 17 last hits compared to Mirana's 9. And now there is an Illusion Rune available right here. Both teams see it. Both teams have wards that can spot that off. So Shadow Fiend's going to really want to start going and checking one of those. He has gotten his bottle. Looks like he did Bottle Crow. Has Sky's the Limit gotten a bottle of his own? It does not look like it has. Chris now opting to pop those bottle charges, and now he's going down here to get the Illusion Rune, of course. That's going to give him the regen he needs to really win that mid lane even more. And it looks like they have tried to de-ward this Observer ward that, of course, is blocking it. Unable to find it, sadly, though. It is just out of ward range by a little bit, and that's making it so that this aggressive tri-lane can still get quite a bit of EXP and farm, seeing as how the creep wave is right here available for them pretty much all the time. Now still trying to pull it. Of course, it is still blocked. However, they just don't know exactly how long that ward has left. And now it looks like Lone Druid trying to set up a nice gank with Alpha here, trying to get in there with this hook shot. Of course, leaving Weaver to his own device's top. He is going to be farming back up to be about on par with this Clockwork, and there is just no opening. These little illusions are just doing too much, and now he does not see him. He's coming up, though. He has gotten it. There, he does get the cogs. The bear is not in there with him, however, but it does indeed look like Chris will fall. That magic wand, not quite enough to provide him with that life. Looks like Valiant and Penguin just so poor, opting to spend pretty much all their money on support items. At least Mirana has brown boots now. EMCD is doing A-okay as well, and that'll open things up a little bit for Sky is the Limit. And he's gonna start commanding this mid a little bit more. Of course, Chris is having he had a fairly good mid to start with, and now it looks like I am missing out on some action bot. Of course, D1 still has Morph into Strength available, Waveform as well, and he can always start using that if things don't go his way. Of course, I have been a little bit spacey for the past few days. Admittedly, been actually missing a lot of kills in my casts, but overall, I'll just start glancing at that little map in the bottom left pretty much all day long and guaranteeing it. To Penguin now with Valiant have smoked up, and now a counter gank to go against Sky is the Limit. But of course, in that true form, he just has so much bonus HP along with this synergy. It is absolutely terrifying. It now looks like Turbo did make his way bot along. No, looks like Alpha probably helped with that. Didn't even hookshot in, but now you do have Sky as the Limit. He might fall. He might be able to get away if this bear can get a good entangle on. They do get the bear at the very least. It's almost enough to actually kill Lone Druid, but 300 gold is none too bad as far as a bounty is concerned. Mirana, of course, did get picked off by 4 heroes bot. Clockwork, Nyx Assassin, Morphling, as well as this Visage. And Morphling now has gotten his treads up. It's going to make him all that more resilient. Shadow Fiend now getting a couple... Shadow Fiend getting a kill on Lone Druid, and Lone Druid killing Shadow Fiend. A little bit of tit for tat. To Penguin, though, was caught out, however, by Alpha there, just guaranteeing that he does not get away with those cogs. Now, both teams having a ward right here. Turbo and Hebe. A lot of smokes being used this game. It looks like Mirana will be caught out again. He has to know something is up. They are indeed. They're trying to bait out the jump by body blocking, getting the stun off. There's the waveform. It is going to be enough. No leap will get away whatsoever. And now, it looks like the Radiant team is indeed leading in experience and gold. Ever so slightly in gold, however. And they're doing fine, just fine. 8-4 for the Radiant team. Despite that, however, only up by about 1,000 gold. This Dire team is finding the farm wherever they can. mostly in this Weaver, who has had complete and utter free farm, and Chris, despite getting ganked almost continuously for the past 5 minutes or so, is still having a very, very good time farming. It now looks like they are trying to engage on to Easy. He does not quite have enough mana to waveform away. Does pop into... It looks like he popped into Intelligence Treads and had just enough, but couldn't quite land it. On that note, everybody, while you're morphling, you can actually start engaging morph strength even whilst stunned. And that might have been enough to save him. Of course, would not guarantee him a waveform out, but it would have morphed. Let's see how much it would have morphed. 30 seconds. He had about 150 mana, so he had about 5 seconds of morphin in him. And he's morphing about... was that shift rate? Not 100% sure what it means, but either way, that would have been quite a bit of extra strength and quite a bit of extra health even. And that might have gone his way a little bit more. Now they are going on Sky's the Limit. They're popping that ult just to try and guarantee this kill. And a nice little body block by Valiant there, just guaranteeing it. And things going a little bit more in favor of the Dire now. Even things out just a bit. Of course, Moronic getting a couple of these kills now on Easy. You do not want your Morphling getting killed that many times, even though it's already not many. What, is it 2? Only 1 so far. Still not what you want to have happen whatsoever. Nyx Assassin is just so poor. Chris, though, getting ganked as well. So much roaming in this game. Very, very action-packed so far. Looks like Valiant and Penguin are up top, maybe trying to bait out a little bit of a gank on EMCD so that they can swoop in and counter gank as well. They are pulling as well. Looks like they might be trying to pull this up, get a nice big creep wave coming, of course, the double creep wave, and take this tower, seeing as how it is already at half health. Looks like Easy wants to harass down Lefty a little bit. He does have so much more base damage, so much more health as well. That rocket doing a little bit of work. Is it going to be enough? Does not have leap available. Still so close, but not quite. And now he will be leaping home, running home as well. Of course, if Clockwork can get a big rocket off, is guessing. Let's follow this rocket. Has he guessed correctly? It does not seem like it. No, has not indeed. Was guessing that she would have ran straight home, and if she had, he might have. But Lefty predicting that as well very nicely, and rotating around to the mid lane and taking this much safer route.
Dire's bottom tower is under attack.
And Alpha now, of course, already has his arcane boots, has drums as well as his stout shield, and now he is going to be so resilient in this game, actually leading the farm tables. Chris is here as well, only has 25 souls at his disposal. That is not quite what you want when you are Shadow Fiend. You want to be staying at that 36 pretty much all the time, and now it looks like this bottom lane is going to get pushed down a bit, but in a little bit of a TP now from this Valiant Naga Siren, and Easy getting just arrowed there. Fortification used up as well, trying to guarantee that they do not get this tower. However, it is not in deny range, still about 51 HP away from that, and with the smallest amount of regen I have ever seen. Plus, it says plus or minus. Plus negative 0.1 HP. Very confusing, I must admit. A TP now coming from Alpha. Looks like they want to set up a gank here. If you get that Naga Siren, of course, Song of the Siren can provide you a way out. But with Alpha's cogs being level 2, that might be just enough. And now he whiffs the hook shot just a little bit. Turbo is here. A possible just throw out a stun to guarantee it, but not at this moment, of course. Looks now like Chris does have up to 36 souls under his belt, still out farming this lone druid by 2,000 gold, and this early on in the game, that's actually fairly substantial. Now, this very scary try going on. Lefty does not want to get caught out by any sort of stuns. Hookshot is still on cooldown for quite a while. Valiant will fall, can't do anything about it. Lefty getting stunned by that spike carapace, and Alpha as well is right here. Chris is here, but now a little bit of ganks running down. The bear can't quite catch him. You have to use these phase boots, Sky. You need to use that micro a little bit. If you had, that might have been one extra attack, might have been one entangle. But now Alpha is rotating mid. He does have Cogs, he's got pretty much everything off of cooldown except Hookshot, which is the one he really wants. But EMCD is still farming his little heart out up top, completely and utterly uncontested for most of the game. And you see this happen in a lot of games. And you just hope that that Weaver can actually have some impact in this game at some point. Now it looks like Alpha might be trying to find a nice hookshot path to get this Weaver. He is still within tower range. As soon as that he does land it, and he is in tower range, he's not going to be able to get away. Time-lapse does not have the mana for it. EMCD will fall. He's not getting away. And Alpha is just commanding in this game. Much respect. Now, trying to get as much damage onto the Spirit Bear as possible. That negative armor is going to help so much, and that is a free 300 gold to Chris, and that's just going to be helping him so much. There is a double damage available. Chris does not see it yet. He will be coming down here, though, does pick it up, and that's going to be so lovely. If he does rotate around, he can be so scary now, having roughly 300 damage almost attack at 16 minutes in the game. Now, it looks like they are going to be waiting behind here, trying to set up a nice gank. A very beautiful Song of the Siren catches all 4 of them in here. Mirana does teleport in, but they whiff the ult entirely. Alpha just doing his work as well, completely and utterly. Just a travesty. 2 for nothing at the moment. Things completely whiffed. 1 entangle will be enough to kill to Penguin, but now these bugs doing a little bit of annoyance as well. EMCD doesn't yet have the damage to really guarantee this. Alpha, of course, does have Hookshot available, harassing down with these rocket flares just a little bit, and overall that engagement went nowhere near the way they wanted. EMCD needs to use time-lapse just barely in time in the last second to Penguin is here as well. Does Laguna Blade Nyx Assassin, guaranteeing that he did not have Spike Carapace available to him for any length of time there. EMCD is working towards that Lincoln's though, but Chris does pop this double damage, doing so much damage. Alpha can't contend with it, trying to get this bear again, so close. One more hit, they do indeed get it, and now Lone Druid, a sky is the limit, will go bearless for 30 seconds. So overall, a perfect initiation from Chris and Valiant, but with absolutely no follow-up to show for it. It looks like they are going to Sky as the limit. He's trying to dodge things with his transformation. It's not going to be enough with these 4 heroes here. And now, will this be the end of this mid tower as well? With 1 catapult, they do have the illusions to tank this. Chris's double damage is running out soon. They really want to get on as much damage as possible, but they simply do not have it. They simply do not have that damage available to them at the moment. Oh, I am just so sad that Requiem of Souls was positioned so perfectly in those sleeping people, and Valiant just could not get rid of Song of the Siren fast enough. I'm not sure exactly how long it takes to cancel from the time of trying to cancel it. I think it's about 0.5 seconds. It does have a small amount of leeway where it needs to stop actually kind of vibrating out from Naga Siren, but still, maybe a little bit more teamwork, a little bit more coordination there might have basically been the difference between getting this tower, not to mention almost a full team wipe as well, and they have to just be kicking themselves about that one. Clockwork did pop off his hookshot, but to no avail. Nobody was around to receive it. He is going for that Ags as well, really trying to get off as many hookshots as humanly possible. Chris does pop the regen. He's going to get back right into fighting form, but it looks like they really do want to contest this tower quite a bit. Valiant sending in those illusions, trying to Riptide wherever they can. Does get it only on Hebe. That's going to be enough. Valiant now, though, of course, does have Song of the Siren available again, and let's see if they can actually pull this off at some point in the game. I thought he might cast it just then. With Song of the Siren available, it looks like Clockwork is looking for a good hookshot position, but Chris now is farming very nicely, up to 127 last hits. His net worth is 1,400 above the Clockwork, of course. Morphling is getting in a little bit of problem. He should have started morphing strength even when he was stunned. You do not need to wait for that whatsoever. Surprised he doesn't know that. But almost falling now to a solo Mirana right now. And she doesn't even have that much farm when it comes right down to it. And now looks like Easy is indeed pulling, trying to get the creep wave a little bit back closer to him. And he is going for that Lincolns as well. With Morphling and Weaver going Lincolns, it's going to be a little bit more difficult for each team to actually take them out. And now it looks like EMCD is here as well, just up top, trying to avoid this Clockwork. He knows how dangerous he can be. He still has enough mana for a Sakuchi into time lapse, so he, of course, is probably not going to fall to any sort of hook shot nonsense, but still very, very scary to be in EMCD's position. He doesn't know if they have wards. He doesn't know if they have any amount of detection. They don't, so he should be fine, just fine. Turbo and Hebe farming up mid just a bit. They do have quite a few heroes on the Dire side, however, but of course these illusions are going to scout them all out. They know that they might want to be going in for this push, but Turbo and Hebe may be enough to actually stop it. If Lefty can land one giant arrow, however, that could be enough as well. Turbo now, though, trying to stun everybody. He is caught out, does not have enough mana to use anything. Is he going to be able to save his buddy? Cannot quite do it. Hebe can't quite save him, and with that, this mid tower will fall. There is no fortification, nobody is TPing up, and Morphling is now doing a lot of damage to this bottom tower in response as well. Are there any TPs coming up from this Dire team? Nagasiren is TPing, as well as Chris does have a TP available. Looks like they are trying to find out if Easy is running away in a very predictable manner, but now it looks like Chris will just be hovering around this rune, seeing if he can't pick it up, if it's something very useful. Maybe if it was a haste, he might have gone for this morph, might have been able to actually take it down. To Penguin is here, does have Laguna Blade, and Dragon Slave available to him. Misses with that Light Strike array, however, and of course now will be backing off. Does have only a Magic Stick and Arcane Boots in his inventory, so of course not particularly farmed, and now he is running away. And if we look at these differences in gold, still only 2,000 in favor of the Radiant team, only 2,000 in favor as far as experience is concerned as well. And so a very even game so far. 1,000 for each 10-minute segment is really not very much whatsoever. EMCD, though, can't quite get this bear. Of course, sky is the limit, microing that very, very nicely, teleporting before that first Weaver attack actually lands. And now it looks like Alpha is coming mid, is very, very close to getting this Ags, 700 away roughly. Lefty now running in, throwing down the Starstorm, not hitting too much with it. There it is. Press W, Sky. That's really what he wants him to be doing at the moment. And W on Sky, of course, you do want to summon. No, you do want to have that rabbit on that bear. Not sure why he hasn't. It lasts so long. It's essentially a pure, just a constant extra attack speed and movement speed buff to him and his bear. So odd indeed that he has not opted to use it yet. But now Morphling filling a very, very similar role to this Weaver, and actually having his Lincolns far, far earlier than this Weaver as well. So just remaining in lane, trying to get as much farm as possible, but also just being a very slippery, very hard to kill hero with morph strength as well as waveform just at his disposal. Not to mention the ability to replicate a hero, send it on its way, and then teleport to it. He is so difficult to kill, and he's actually being used in a very similar manner to this Weaver. Valiant, though, does catch him out. Isn't going to be actually being able to kill him at all. Now Clockwork Alpha is teleporting in. Valiant looks like he did get himself stuck with his illusions. Not sure how he feels about that. Was able to micro them out and doing fine, just fine. Looks like Marana, Alessandra, Lefty has thrown out an arrow, but to no target whatsoever. Just seeing if they can't catch anything out. They do have a sentry available here. They will see this Nyx if he decides to Vendetta up. They also have this Observer here, really seeing everything that's happening. It looks like they really did want to take out this tower, but forcing all those TPs might just be good enough for them. And when you think about it, that is 3 heroes TPing in. That's 135 gold a piece. And they just have to back off, and no one is the wiser. They do indeed get this deny on this tower. These Radiant heroes are not going to get here in time, and that's going to eat into that Radiant gold lead, at least a smidge. And now it is indeed going down to about 1,300. Looks like Chris now is going to get chased down by Alpha. So Alpha has almost no armor, though, around this Shadow Fiend, simply because of that aura. But Shadow Fiend, of course, a very, very quick hero with that Yasha. Had, I think, what, three more extra move speed than this Clockwork, and is very, very hard to take down. Sky's the limit. Still opting never to use Rabid, not even when he's doing nothing. He basically has enough mana to constantly spam it, but however has not yet opted to do so. Does resummon? No, does not resummon. Has used Rabid. There he has it. That's going to be very, very good for him, of course. Valiant and well as to Penguin, they do have smoke available if they want to try and go for these ganks, but both of these teams very, very cautious, sticking to their sides of the river, being very, very mindful of the amount of ganking that has been going on this game. Penguin and Valiant looking to see if they can't get maybe a little bit of farm, try and get up that mech. To Penguin is doing fine, just fine, of course, has her bracers. Lefty now already having a buckler with Valiant going this headdress. Interesting to see exactly what Valiant's going to be picking up. Possibly just got a casual headdress for whatever reason. It now looks like Easy is trying to go on to Chris. Chris with so much damage, however, that Easy just cannot contend at the moment. Maybe if he had made a replica of that hero, he might have been able to actually catch him out. Chris does not have too many ways to disengage here. And now it looks like Chris might get caught out there. These familiars are here. Does two-shot them. Gets so much bounty for it. And a Mirana ult being used just to guarantee Chris to safety. The rest of the Dire team are coming in, flooding in as well. Valiant now. Everybody's invisible. Hebe completely caught out. No spike carapace yet. Did indeed use it very nicely. To Penguin did take the brunt of that Laguna Blade. It was not quite enough. Chris is running in, cleaning up everything, however, and now he is just having a field day, still opting not to use Manta Style whatsoever, though, and that is going to be a bottom tower for this Dire team. Looks like Mirana, Lefty, has disconnected from the game. Just a little bit of technical difficulties, it seems. She's right back into it, however, and now it looks like things are evening up for the Dire team. That game is paused when it was right in the way of these, isn't it? Sure is. That's fine, just fine, but we should be resuming anytime now. Alessandro just barely getting away there as well. And if we look at the items, we have Lone Druid, of course, with Tranquils. Looks like he is going for that Radiance on the bear, and he does indeed have it. And this is, of course, going to increase his farm so much. Gonna, to such a huge degree with this Lone Druid, it just increases your farm. You basically can farm 2 lanes completely uncontested for the most part. And then if you ever do get ganked as this Lone Druid, you simply port your bear back, and then it is all just a very good fight for you. Spirit Bard just having so much damage. There he does indeed use that, what is it, Battle Cry now. Getting that bonus damage and using that Rabbit as well, making this bear so terrifying. He does indeed have Radiance now. He can start really making a difference for his team. And this is going to be probably a very big farm fest. But of course, this Spirit Bear, despite having so much damage at his disposal and the option to entangle, he will fall very quickly to Chris, who is doing 200-odd damage a hit. Especially considering that this bear essentially has no amount of armor whenever Chris is around him because of, where is it? Presence of the Dark Lord. Turbo now just running around the jungle, seeing if he can't find somebody a little bit, and now I can look at these, and now it is going slightly in favor of the Dire team. It looks like they really do want to catch out Lone Druid, but of course with that Rabid buff, he is just too quick. He has hit level 16 now, which means that this bear of his is going to be able to farm so well pretty much all game. But will that give the Easy enough farm to really make a difference? He has picked up a Ghost Scepter, however. He has finished his Lincoln Sphere, and I just don't know how this Dire team is going to eventually deal with this very late game lineup that the Radiants are running. Of course, as soon as Morphling gets to be, as soon as he has that E-Blade under his belt, he's going to be able to shotgun some of these very low health heroes right away. Lina, of course, not to mention Mirana, are going to just absolutely fall prey to that. They do have a medallion now, making this Roshan kill so quick, and Chris does indeed pick that up. EMCD has only now finished his Lincolns, and it just looks like this Morphling is out farming him by about, there it is, 2,000, roughly 1,500, no, what was it? Roughly 2,500 more gold than this Weaver, who is essentially in the exact same shoes as him. It looks like Alpha does have his Ags up, of course, making that hookshot cooldown only 12 seconds. He's going to be hookshotting all over town. EMCD looks like he wants to harass down this lone druid a little bit, maybe bait it out a little bit, and now he is indeed doing that, and now a gank going down. Will Valiant fall, though, before he can actually do anything? This bear doing so much damage, does get entangled onto Penguin. It's not going to be enough. Everybody here just doing so much damage to that, and following it up and finishing up with a Laguna Blade. Just kill, securing that druid. But he does instantly buy back, gets right back into the game, tries to farm. He's going to be farming, of course, with the Spirit Bear. Usually you want to see this guy in a lane, but this bottom lane is completely and utterly held by this Morphling. There's really only 2 lanes to farm at all as this Spirit Bear, and one of them is filled with dire heroes. The other one is pretty free when it comes right down to it, actually, but you do not want to take all the farm possible as Lone Druid. Of course, your teammates do need some amount of it. Clockwork is pretty close to being having pretty much as much as he would ever want, however. Now they have used a Mirana ult, just hoping that there isn't any amount of funky sentries going down. Valiant is here. It looks like Turbo is going to get caught out. Does carapace it up. He does throw down the Dark Lord. Does throw down that Requiem of Souls, doing so much damage. And now that's a free kill. One smoke, getting that kill. That arrow flies, does not hit anybody, sadly enough. And now the Radiant team has to be a little bit wary. They really do need to try and make this game go as late as possible. Of course, Shadow Fiend is strong throughout the entire game. Weaver will only start to ramp up, but Lina as well as Mirana and Naga Siren to a degree, mostly because she's being played as a support, will start to drop off whilst this Lone Druid starts getting 12 slotted, whilst this Morphling does get his E-Blade. He does have it now, and now he should be able to shotgun people quite effectively. Up to 178 agility. Adaptive Strike will do... what is it? Base damage of 80, damage max. Looks like 2. Looks like it's going to be doing 80 plus about 340, and now it looks like Chris running in, but of course he just replicates home and making sure that he is fine, just fine. This gank of 4 heroes now not actually doing anything for the Dire team. And now, since Morphling basically has all the mana he could ever want, he's gonna be fine and always gonna be so hard to kill, so slippery. And he can just shotgun heroes down so quickly now with Adaptive Strike doing, what is that, about 400 damage, plus the Ethereal Blade bonus, plus the Ethereal Blade 2 times attribute, plus he's basically going to be shotgunning for about 800 whenever he wants, and that is absolutely terrifying. However, they do have these 4 heroes now going on this top tower. They really do want to get it. There is a lot of damage going down onto this, throwing out that fortification, but Morphling is mid, providing a lot of damage to this mid tower as well. This top tower does fall, though, and now it looks like they are going to try and get this Morphling. He, of course, has not replicated anybody, but realizing that there's no stun available is indeed just going to TP out of there and be fine, just fine. Of course, easy. You can always morph into strength in a pinch. You can do it while you channel. I'm fairly certain you can do it while you do anything else, and now he's essentially got a 60-second replicate that he can always teleport to if things get out of hand, so he should be doing fine. He can be very ballsy. He can waveform, shotgun somebody down, and then simply replicate back, and I think that's exactly what he's going to be doing. Does indeed do it. I called it. I'm not saying I'm amazing, but not a bad call by me whatsoever. And now it looks like, realizing that they can't let this game go particularly late, they really do need to start pushing in and really using this advantage. However small this advantage is, they do have much better heroes in this mid game, however, And now it looks like those bugs just stunning Weaver on his own damage, of course. And that is a lot of damage going down on this tower. This bear, of course, is Radiance burning people down. He can't quite do it. A fortification now. There it was used indeed. They can't quite take this tower down yet. But Chris just getting so much farm, is 4,000 ahead of Morphling. And that is not what you want to see happen when you are on the Radiant side. Now this tower will fall. Are they going to start sieging the high ground? They do get that arrow on Turbo, and he will fall here. It's such a long-range arrow, at least a 4-second stun there. Chris's Aegis does pop. Very good timing, reclaimed in 20 seconds. Do they want to continue pressuring with this? They don't. They decide not to. Morphling, though, does just shotgun Lena's face off. And there's the ow from Penguin. Realizing that he is just going to have a terrible time against this Morphling from pretty much now on. Alpha looks like he might be trying to catch out some heroes, but with Chris getting... Oh no, it looks like Weaver has gotten this Desolator, and that's -7 armor from Desolator, -6 armor from Presence of the Dark Lord, and somebody on this team has a medallion. It must be Lena. Lena must have a medallion. That is a lot of minus armor and single target damage if that's how they choose to go. Mirana now looks like she is going to be building into drums. I don't think anybody has gotten that yet. No, not so much. Oh no, it was Valiant indeed who had the Medallion of Courage. Can't believe I didn't see that. And now it looks like this Dire team are just deciding to take all of these tier 2s. And Penguin needs to be so careful here. Easy, of course, can just waveform in. That's all it takes. It's going to be so easy with Lefty here, though, and Valiant. He can just replicate away, and that is not going to go their way whatsoever. And he's gone. EMCD trying to get a little bit of tower damage bought, but instantly medallion by this Visage, and does not want to be here up against this Morphling. Of course, Weaver, very glass cannon. He still has 1366 HP, but that does not mean too much when you have a Morphling that essentially can do about 1,000 magic damage in the blink of an eye, and that is just so scary. Looks like Turbo's mouse has fucked up and exploded. I'm sure he's going to work about fixing it or bring out his secondary mouse. We'll see exactly how well that goes. In the meantime, though, let's talk about abstract comments that make no sense. There you go. It looks like his mouse is indeed fixed now.
Illusion.
A little bit of smack talk going on between Easy and Chris is all. Good, just good. But now Shadow Fiend has picked up a butterfly of his own, and with no MKB in sight, Lone Druid doesn't have one on himself. Morphling does not have one. I mean, he almost has enough money to buy one whenever he does see that butterfly, however. So very interested to see exactly what he's going to spend all of his money on. Might even go heart so he can go even more into agility, of course. Anything that gives stats to Morphling is very good. And of course, opting to just be very ballsy with this replicate at his disposal whenever he wants, and he should be fine, just fine. The bear, no, nowhere near MKB, and now they all converge on Easy. He still has replicate, and there it is. And he's gone. He's all the way back home, has picked up a Talisman of Evasion of his own. Looks like he's going to be going Butterfly. Usually don't see Talisman picked up except for Halberd. And actually, that might not be a bad pickup when it comes right down to it. Gives you nice evasion, can actually make him go toe for toe against Chris. Simply, all you have to do is make it so that Chris can't attack, and you're gonna be winning that fight. Of course, I don't know if you can actually Manta out of Halberd anymore. At one point you could, but they might have changed it. No more bottle on Chris, however, does pick up a double damage, and with that, and these 5 heroes bought, it looks like they're very much want to pressure this tier 2 tower and really take that down now. If we look at these net worths, it is still 3,000 in favor of Chris. He is not as good of a late game carry as Morphling, however. Morphling with really only 2 big items on him, whereas Chris has 3 or even maybe 3.5 with that Helm of the Dominator. And Morphling is still very terrifying to go up against. And it looks like he is split pushing to his heart's content. They still have a fortification available to try to delay this a little bit. Easy does have TP scrolls up whenever he wants them, though. It does look like Weaver just got Visage. Maybe Hebe being a little bit out of position there. Interested to see exactly how that happened, but you're going to have to look at the replay for that one, everybody. So sorry, folks. And now, it looks like Easy just trying to get as much tower damage as possible. Doesn't have a replicate to port to. They don't know that, though. Does shotgun him just a little bit, and that's half of his life. And because of that, Morphling is just so scary. He is such a late game carry. And now the longer and longer that this game goes on, the stronger and stronger that this Radiant team will get. With Lone Druid here, Radiant's Bear almost is very close now on this bear to having an assault cuirass as well, which will just make him all that more terrifying, not to mention help him stay alive a little bit longer against Chris's huge damage and negative armor. But Morphling now is doing fine, just fine. They are scouting around with the Familiar, checking to see if they are going to be going for that Roshan. Of course, this Familiar getting a stun off, just trying to delay it a little bit. Of course, Chris able to just man mode fight this Roshan pretty much all the time. A stun now, falling by Lefty Alessandra on this Roche and stunning him for so long. But in runs Easy. He has Replicate to go to if he ever wants to. It does go for Dire. Chris does get the... Visage gets the Aegis actually and kills it with that Familiar. A very nice Aegis snipe there. Now throwing out these birds, these Familiars, trying to stun a little bit. It's not going to be enough. This bear is going for this Weaver. The bear does fall though, but sky's the limit. Has a lot of damage on his own. Not quite enough to live. It looks like Hebe Visage did get Mirana's ticket there, however. And now, can Sky get away? Does not. Falls to Chris as well as EMCD. And that is just so much negative armor. Negative 13 armor on this Lone Druid, meaning he only had essentially 1 for that fight, and that was so bad for him to be in that situation. Easy now running in. They want to see if they can't catch out EMCD. EMCD, though, seeing that Morphling is more likely than not going for that Butterfly, trying to get that MKB up. A very nice hook by Alpha with EMCD here with Easy here as well, just trying to guarantee those kills. And now, this Illusion actually not doing enough damage at the moment. But, I mean, all the time, Easy's going to be fine, just fine with this Replicate, wherever it may be. There it is. And, of course, Easy's Ethereal Blade is going to be off cooldown fairly soon. He might want to turn around and try and kill Chris. Opting not to, however, of course, there is still a hook shot into Cogs and Battery Assault available. And now it looks like the rest of the Radiant team are trying to rotate down here, maybe using Chris's Hubris to his disadvantage. Visage picks up the haste rune. I don't know if he's going to make much use of it, just running around and trying to soak up a lot of experience all day long. And lots of wards going on for this Nyx Assassin. Easy, of course, does not have that replicant for too much longer. They do see him here, however. No Shadow Blade on Chris. Are they going to get this? No, he opts to actually just use that replicate in the last second of its life to get home very quickly. And a terrific play by Easy. Not even sure if he saw that arrow. Just a very fortunate use of replicate. And now he is very close to getting his Butterfly down, and as soon as that happens, he's going to be shotgunning Lina pretty much from full health into nothingness whenever he sees her. Mirana ult being used. They will be going for Easy. He does have Replicate available to him, however, and pops it, feeling a little bit unsafe, it seems. Not sure if he even saw them, seeing as how they are all invisible, but feeling just a little bit unsafe all the time. Shadow Fiend now does have his Satanic, gonna be so hard to take him down with BKB, Satanic, and Manta Style at his disposal, not to mention the evasion from Butterfly. He is just gonna be so difficult to actually take down when it comes right down to it. You do not have the burst on this Radiant team to really deal with him in a magic-y sort of manner. Clockwork, though, has picked up a Shiva's, which of course will help as far as really slowing people down. Does get a stun off on, I can't remember exactly who, but that's not the end of the world. Looks like Easy is going tit for tat with EMCD, and I'm not sure who would win this fight. It looks like Morphling will, simply because of that shotgunning. But a lot of action going down here, bot to the bear. Looks like he is going extinct. Those pandas just will not populate their species up at all. He does have his bear back, though. Now it's 2 minutes until it's off of cooldown, and this dire side really wants this tower. Alpha does engage in. It's not going to be enough. Shadow Fiend getting lots of kills. There's no BKB on Alpha, taking an entire Requiem of Souls to the face. Chris just destroying people. However, Morphling is here as well, doing his bit. Not enough damage coming from him to really live with that Satanic. He can't quite do the burst through it, and now things are not looking good for this Dire team. Now even they have not lost their list, still in the lead by quite a large margin, just getting outplayed, it seems, by Morphling with 8,000 gold in his bank. And if I'm not mistaken, that's going to be his Flying Courier running up, getting an Eagle Song. Come on. Get the Eagle Song. You might even want a Reaver Morphling. Go for that heart. It's pretty much the same thing as getting 44 agility. Or 40 agility, so you might as well get 40 strength and just be a huge tank who does an obscene amount of damage. But now, Weaver is getting quite terrifying in his damage-dealing abilities. Oh no, looks like Lefty does indeed have to leave early now, it seems. There's the GG, so sad. Not even sure they could have done it. Sadly enough, I did think it was getting late enough that this Radiant team would have come out, but that's all speculation. Nonetheless, thanks for watching, everybody. This has been Briefcase, bringing you another ESP in-house community game.